Oh boy, here we are again, back at it, making another video. And of course, this is a follow-up on my last video because a lot of people have responded to it. A lot of people have asked some questions, a lot of people are wondering what's going on, somehow wondering if I have any more information, and I do. Surprisingly, I have more information. I've been doing some digging, so let's get into what I know more about the Storror scandal. Oh boy, here we are again. And once again, we're talking about these guys. Before I get into this video, I want to make a disclaimer that some of the stuff that we're going to be talking about is pretty severe. A lot of it is hard to talk about, and some people feel a lot of certain ways about this. I also want to make a disclaimer saying that everything I say in the video is not speculation. It is a knowledgeable hypothesis based on information I've gathered so far. Some of it is my own personal opinion on what I think has happened, but it's not speculation. It is a knowledgeable opinion based off of the facts that I have and the facts that I've been given. That is an entirely separate thing from just spewing lies on the internet. I'm not clout chasing. I am not profiting off of this. I don't even make money off of these videos. So the only thing that I am doing is trying to give a space for the victims to speak out and be heard, since they're being shushed and shunned, and then as well as give the general public and general parkour community a source to talk about this and know what's happening as it keeps updating. So the first thing I want to talk about is that as far as we know of, effective of today, Josh has been removed from the team members list on Storror's official website and on their YouTube. And this is the current list of members that are still associated with Storror. I have a feeling that list is going to be dwindling even more so based on the current evidence and facts that we have on the whole situation. And this is really interesting because I honestly, I didn't forget about Josh, but I didn't think of him when I initially thought about people that might be involved or trying to cover up what was happening. I had, based on the knowledge that I had been given, had formed a hypothesis that Storror had been covering up for Callum for a long time, and I have even more evidence supporting that claim that I'll be getting into further in this video. This video is not nearly going to be as long as the last video, but it's definitely going to be a little bit of a video. And anyways, back to the Josh thing. Yeah, so this was interesting to me that Josh was removed from Storror and they had not made a announcement like they did for Callum. This had very much surprised me. Again, based on the evidence I have, it makes Storror look extremely suspicious in all of this, and I have to form the hypothesis that Josh, was involved. And it's more than likely, based on what we know so far, that more members of Storror were involved. There is a series of messages that I have obtained from both Instagram and private DMs from some people who were directly involved and who were directly involved with Storror and or the people that had come forward, the victims, and some of it says some pretty interesting stuff. So I think that that's the next part we need to get into, because in terms of the Josh stuff, because they didn't make an announcement, we don't really know anything other than he's not with the team anymore. So this is a post by Callum Parkour, not Callum Parkour, Callum Parkour, and it states, over the last 14 years, Storror and the people within it have been a massive inspiration to me, both creatively and within parkour. That's why everything surrounding Callum Powell has been genuinely shocking, heartbreaking, and difficult to process. There's no excuse, no justification, no place for behavior like this in our community or anywhere else. I also want to acknowledge to the people who have come forward to share their experiences relating to Callum, speaking publicly about trauma, manipulation, or abuse, especially when it involves someone with a platform and a loyal audience, takes huge amounts of courage, and the amount of harassment, disbelief, and hospitality of some of these individuals, hostility some of these individuals have received simply for speaking out is completely unacceptable. As a community, we can't say we care about people's safety, trust, and support while attacking or silencing those who have come forward. That was pretty much my entire last video, was this person's post. I had made a post about it, basically saying the victims have come forward. We are throwing them under the rug. This is completely unacceptable, and as a community, we need to do better. I even related it to scandals that were local in the hockey community. If you guys don't know, I'm a huge hockey fan. Playoffs are going on right now, so go Avs if you're watching hockey or NHL. Hopefully your team is still contending. But back to that, there have been scandals like this in hockey, specifically the last one related to the World Juniors a few years ago, and a group of individuals who had taken advantage of multiple women within a hotel room. These people were completely and utterly just thrown to the curb by the entire community, not even by the entire community, but by the cities they were living in, and by the people they were closest with, and all of this. And this is exactly the type of behavior that we need to do when it comes to protecting our victims that are coming forward. And this man in his own comment section was also attacked, just like how, well, I'm not going to say I was attacked, because I don't think that saying words to me is attacking me. You can say whatever you want, but by all means, hit up my comment section. It will not affect me. If anything, I encourage it so that we can have an active discussion on this. But this man was attacked in his comments. The one specifically is by a user named Kieran Fenwick, and they are actually calling out someone else. They're calling out an account called Aaron_X. I'm assuming that this Aaron_X had been saying some things that were pretty inappropriate in Callum's post, and this Kieran guy seems to have been defending them. Kieran says, "Okay, tough man, you're basing your judgment off a few comments I've made on Instagram. There's a lot I haven't said. I feel like the rest of the group are more shocked at the fact when it's come to light that they realize their reputation brand could be over. They also have to act shocked regardless." I would say that I was closest with Callum and Sasha. I trained with them most of the whole group, but I also knew my GoPro battery died, so we're just going to start from where it matters. I'd say I was closest with Callum and Sasha, as I trained with them most out of the whole group, but I also knew the whole group and did try to make them aware. They chose to ignore. Not sure if you remember what the Storror boys were like 10 years ago, but most of their content / them as people were quite bully-esque, and they only changed as popularity grew. I did what I could, and defended a person I know to be a victim of him as much as I could at the time, while respecting her decision of not wanting the world to know what happened. It's a fine line and a large gray area. I was also only 21 and only cared about jumping on walls. Clearly, I didn't really understand the severity at the time. Over the years, you assume it may have been a one-off. As I knew Callum and trained with him often, he seemed like a normal guy, so naturally you assume over time that it may have just been a bad breakup and things got said. Him now pleading guilty shows a different light. I did what I thought was right at the time, but that's hindsight, isn't it? There isn't always times where we look back and think I could have done more. And someone asked if they went to the police, and then he responds again. Kieran Fenwick responds again, saying, "Read what I said. It wasn't my place to go to the request. It wasn't my place due by the request of the person involved. My partner at the time wouldn't send me the photos she had been sent, as she knew I would have used them to expose him, but she kept them from me to protect her friend who wasn't comfortable with that information getting out." Which you have to... That comment cuts off there. From the sources that I've been giving this from, that comment cuts off there. And someone else, he also goes on to mention, like, Callum was 5 minutes away from like her best friend's house, and like Callum was never allowed at this house, and there's a whole bunch of other stuff. He mentions that he didn't go to the police because there was evidence that no longer exists. It was 8 years ago, and he was no longer in contact with either of the girls that had evidence. And then he mentions that Caroline, I know, has already released her own statement. And that really is as far as those go in terms of the stuff that was released publicly from another source, another known source, saying Callum did this stuff and Storror covered it up. They knew and they chose to ignore. Those were his words. They chose to ignore. And they continued to know as their popularity blew up. They continued to do this. And now that he is getting reprimanded and what he rightfully deserves to go to prison for this, they are now lying to the public and trying to backtrack and backpedal, saying, simply put, they didn't know. Based on all the evidence we have right now, that is simply incorrect. Storror did know, and they covered it up, and those seems to be the prominent facts in this so far. You can't just have multiple people come forward and say the exact same thing with a little bit of differences in their individual stories, because Callum did these things individually to them, and just completely deny it as if they were speculation, because that is just so disrespectful to these victims and so disrespectful to this community and disrespectful to yourself. I believe that people out here have morals and know what's right and wrong, and we know that protecting Storror is wrong. So that's really the two little bits of information that we have updated from the situation. If you didn't know the situation thus far, I'll give you a quick recap. Callum Powell of Storror Parkour has been arrested and charged with 3,000 images and pictures, videos of indecent, well, not indecent, I use indecent because I'm going to use the word CP for those of you who understand that. It was extremely inappropriate pictures of children and of animals. So he had been arrested on 3,000 counts of that. Storror released a statement stating that they had no involvement and or knew about this. Since then, multiple victims have come forward, basically doubting that claim. The evidence in light shows that they did know, and we're really just waiting sentencing and hearing from now on. We have talked to, well, I've talked a lot about this in my previous video, so if you want to check out my previous video on this topic, I recommend doing so. I go a little bit more into depth about what originally happened. This is just the update videos. This is basically my video saying, it's probably going to be titled something like Storror is trying to cover up the victims' stories, because that's really what it seems like over here, is that Storror and the parkour community as a whole, at least some of us in here, for some reason, are trying to cover up the story, while other of us are trying to, bring light to it. So that's pretty much all the information that we have on the current situation, at least spark noted, if you're old enough to know what spark notes are. And yeah, so if you liked this video, make sure to check out my other one. Like, subscribe, comment, all the good stuff. I do have some sponsorships, so if you want to check out the sponsorships, link in the bio. And while you're here, you might as well check out my vlogs, because they're the content that I spent so much time building this channel over, and I appreciate the views from this current situation, but I don't like benefiting off of views from a bad situation, so please go check out my vlogs. That would be much appreciated. They're much better videos to watch, much funner to watch. It'd be your little slice of cake after some Brussels sprouts, we'll call it. So yeah.